So, our topic today is one that I know a lot of women talk about in midlife: how to dress. Okay, we know what we like, and maybe we've been cultivating our own personal style throughout our lives. But the changing seasons in our lives, our changing bodies, our changing careers, sometimes they call for different clothing choices. I know so many people, including me, have stood in front of the mirror and said, am I too old to wear this? Does this make me feel good about myself? Am I comfortable? So, here today to help us break it all down is style expert Elysha Lenkin, who knows exactly what I'm talking about because she is also a woman in midlife despite her youthful appearance. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Amanda. I'm so excited to be here.
You know, I am so excited to jump into this topic because it's one that I think about a lot. And one of the things that I really liked from your bio that you sent me was there's a connection between personal style and self-evolution in midlife. And I think that is so true because I think we get stuck sometimes thinking, this is my style and I'm not going to change. Talk about that for a second and then we'll jump into your background.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. And it's actually something I saw. The reason I reached out to you because it was something I saw that you did on your TEDx talk where you talked about how transformation isn't always in the great big events, but it's in the smaller things that can change how we see things. And that really clicked for me because this is exactly what I'm doing is I'm helping women change how they see themselves using their clothes. I mean, think about it. If you see me right now, I'm wearing this green sweater. I look one way, but if I put on, a bright red one with big ruffles, I'm going to look a different way. And when you do this regularly, when you change your clothes, when you start changing how you see yourself, this really does change the way you show up and what you bring into the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see people all the time when I'm, walking down the street or scrolling through social media where I go, oh, wow, she looks really cool. I wonder if I could pull that off. And so I think, the wheels start turning and it's a matter of getting that confidence to do it, right? Okay, so let's talk about your background because you have a pretty interesting path to this job as a personal stylist. You were a commercial stylist, a celebrity stylist. So talk about how you got into that and what you did.
So I got into styling way back in the 90s before anybody even really knew what the job stylist was. So now we hear the word stylist. It is, the people who are helping you in the retail stores. It's a word that's really out there. But when I started in the mid 90s, it was a real behind the scenes position. And I remember I used to have to explain to people all the time what it was that I did. I remember going out to dinner with at the time, they were my boyfriend's parents. Now they're my in-laws. And they were like, so what is it you do? And I said, when you're watching TV or you are looking through a magazine and you see people and they're dressed wearing clothes, well, I'm the one who gets those clothes. So that's what I've been doing. I've been doing that since the 90s, starting on commercial shoots, magazines, did that all through the 90s. And then I knew there was something going on when I started working privately with some women. And I started to notice that these women who were very successful in their careers, in their lives, they were struggling to get dressed every day. And they would look at their bodies and they would see their bodies as a liability. They just didn't know how to dress their bodies. And this was how they were starting their day. They were starting their day feeling like their body was a real problem. So when I saw that there was this group of highly competent women who were just feeling so less than when it came to their wardrobes, that's when I realized that my unique gifts and talents are going to be better served working privately with these women. I love working on shoots. I still do it because the collaboration, the creativity is very inspiring for me. But my main focus right now is helping real women. We call them real women on set.
Right.
When they're not actors and they're not models, they're real women. And I'm helping them figure out what their style is because in midlife, especially, which is who I work with, there's so many changes that are happening that it's just making everyone like what I used to love, what used to look good. It doesn't look good anymore. And they just have no idea what else to wear.
Yeah, and I, as a TV reporter, I kind of had a uniform. So we wore bright colors, no patterns, form fitting. In the winter, we wore long sleeves, and then in the spring and summer, we wore sleeveless because I work in North Carolina. And I pretty much just rotated through my closet because bright colors look good on TV. Well, I would go to do an interview with somebody. And again, like high powered women, smart women, successful women, CEOs, COOs, attorneys, elected officials. And I would think, oh, they don't have anybody giving them guidance on what they're wearing. And many times my photographer and I would be like, hey, do you have any lipstick with you? Do you want to just brush your hair real quick? Or hey, how about you unbutton your jacket? Like we would give them advice because we're local TV. We didn't have, people working with us on that. Um, just before we go more into the midlife thing, I do want to know any really interesting stories from your celebrity days.
I mean, I used to do a lot of stuff for Entertainment Weekly. So I just was working with so many celebrities. And I can tell you, interesting, I just remember working with Tina Fey, and I just thought she was like the coolest person ever. And the other thing that I want to say is that celebrities are they're just as self-conscious as we are, right? So
Sure.
they're just as concerned about
Maybe
what
more so. Yeah.
they see as flaws, right? So, I could show up to a job with like, 2 racks of clothing, and we would go through every single one, and someone might not be happy with any of it because they're not happy with the way they look. So this happens to everyone, and you'd be surprised because these women would be thin. They'd be supposedly beautiful by, the current beauty standards, yet still they're struggling with their self-consciousness and their insecurities.
Do you remember ever having a situation where you were able to nail it and the person initially was like, I don't know, I don't see anything that's right for me. And then you nailed it and you were just they were happy and you were happy.
I mean, this happens all the time. Like, because a lot of times when you look at something on a rack, it doesn't do it justice in the same way when you put it on. So for me, when I look at a rack of clothes, this is my superpower, is like, how can we put together these, what seem to be disparate pieces, and bring them together to create this incredible look? So they have to try it on. Right. Just like if I show it on a hanger, it's not, they might be like, no, but I always say, just try it on. The stakes aren't high. You can always take it off. I'm not going to force you to wear it, but everyone always says, I never thought to do it like that. I'm like, I know, that's why I'm here.
Yeah. And I think really good salespeople in stores have that gift, right? You were talking about stylists are now everywhere
Yes,
on a smaller level. Because
absolutely.
I was in a vintage store recently. I love vintage shopping. And this woman who owned the store said, oh, I have something that just came in. She brought it out. It was like palazzo pants. It was like a jumpsuit. It had like it was black, and then it had like faux diamonds across the top. I said, I would never wear that in a million years. I would never wear that. She said, just try it on. Just try it on. And I tried it on. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. It's not something I would normally wear. It's not something I would have looked at and said, I'm trying that on. But it was such a cool look. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to wear it to, but I'm going to buy it. And it's probably a New Year's Eve thing. Who knows? But, so fun to find that stuff, and good to have helpful people giving you advice. So you started your business around 2019,
Well, no, I started styling in the 90s, like 94,
but your
95.
personal business.
And then, yeah, and then I was fully had pivoted to private styling. It
Okay.
started in 2018. By 2019, I was doing private styling. I was working online with my clients. So this is the other thing, is that styling, I just ran into someone on the street. I live in New York City, and she's in production also, and we were talking about how styling is probably one of the hardest jobs on set because of all of the merchandise. There's just a
Mm-hmm.
lot of merchandise that you're dealing with. So I started to notice this in my mid 40s, that my back was starting to hurt as I'm bending down to pick things up and hanging them up on the rack. And I started noticing my body was not loving this job anymore. And I'm thinking, I'm going to have to find something else to do,
To pivot to.
to pivot to. And it was around that time that I started noticing all these online people, like nutritionists, photographers, right? People, yoga, people that you would think would always be in person. They're all working online. And I'm like,
That
that's
sounds like
very,
a good idea.
yeah,
Yeah.
very interesting for me. So that's what I started doing. So by 2019, that's what I was doing. I was fully set up with digital closets, digital lookbooks, serving my clients who were all over the world at this point, had really started to, dial in on the online styling. And then 2020 came, and I was ready to go.
You
And
were
that,
ready to be an online person during the pandemic, which is amazing. Talk to me a little bit about the closet shopping collective and how that worked and how that got started.
Yeah, the Closet Shopping Collective is my Facebook group. And so it was in March of 2020. I am in New York City, so I was in the epicenter of everything going on. It was crazy around for all of us. And I just decided that this is a time when we are feeling so out of control in our lives, but there is one thing that we have control over every single day, and that is getting dressed. So I created this community where we did a 30-day challenge. That's how we started, to show up and get dressed every single day. So every single day, everybody was getting dressed, sharing their photos. I was going live every day at 5, and I was giving tutorials on inspiration and tips and ways that they can put their clothes together in these new ways so that they could really get their creativity going, because this gave us a sense of control in a time when we really felt like we had none.
Yeah, absolutely. And I shared with you off camera before we started the show that I feel like I have a really strong sense of style, but I have different styles for different parts of my life. I was a TV reporter for 35 years, so I have like that wardrobe. That's part of my closet, and I wear those to speeches. And then I am a podcaster. Obviously, I'm a writer, so that's a little bit more laid back, a little bit more relaxed. And then I love to work out. So I spend a lot of time in workout clothes. How do you help women figure out like their different styles for the different parts of their life? Because you can't wear the same thing all the time.
No, but the work that I do with my clients is really about building a cohesive and versatile wardrobe. So everything works for them through all the changes that they've gone through, right? Because our bodies change and our preferences change. Like we look back to what we were wearing 5 years ago, 7 years ago, we probably don't want to wear the same thing. So there's so much change that is going on. So what I do with my clients is we really round out their wardrobe so that everything looks good on them, everything feels good, and everything works together for all the different pieces of their life. So that's really what I do with my clients now.
That makes a lot of sense. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. So before the break, we were talking about how we fit the different parts of our lives with our different parts of our wardrobe. And I really do think of dressing sometimes as like theater. You are portraying a certain image of yourself in any given situation. I shared with you also that I am an adjunct professor. And, I actually love putting together those outfits, like my blazer and my jeans. So, like a little bit dressy, a little bit hip, and cool shoes, loafers, of course. Do you find people who are just like in a rut who don't think of dressing that way? In other words, they just think of dressing as something they have to do every day, kind of like making food, and it's just not something they enjoy.
Oh, this is most women who I talk to. This is one of the reasons that women come to me, is because they're just stuck in a rut of doing the same thing. And one thing that I find that women tend to fall into is the trap of settling for good enough. It's like, oh, this is good enough. This will do. That's the other one. This will do. And they end up that they just have a life of good enough. And I believe that when you're getting dressed at good enough, you're really just putting in 50% effort, and this is what you're going to put out into the world. And listen, that's not how I want to show up in my life. That's not how I want my clients to show up, because there is so much more available to us. But the thing is that a lot of women, they just don't know. They just don't know what's available. Maybe they were never into fashion. You said you had a strong sense of style, but there's a lot of women who never really had that. Or most of my clients, I'll say, is that they used to have that, but then they lost it.
They kind of let that go by the wayside. Okay, so let's get into the nitty gritty. Let's start with age. Are there rules about dressing for your age? Because sometimes my daughters tell me that I dress like a teenager. That may be because I do get stuff out of their Goodwill bags, and I do take things out of their closets because they no longer live with me. I'm an empty nester. But sometimes I'm like, but I like the way I look and I want to dress like this. But do you give any general rules about age and dressing?
I don't give general rules about age and dressing. I think that women are very clear about what's comfortable for them. I believe that we should push to the edge of our comfort zone. I want all my clients to be a little bit edgier, not in the sense of wearing black leather and silver studs, but in the sense of really living on the edge of what they're used to doing, because this is what feels most alive and most exciting. So I was just talking to a client earlier today. She's in her mid 40s and she just told me she had this sleeveless, it was very strappy sundress that we had put together for a trip. She's like, can we just take that out of the closet? I don't want to wear that anymore. I'm not comfortable wearing that. Right. So she's in her mid 40s, whereas I have clients who are in their mid 50s who would rock a strappy sundress. So it really is varied by person to person.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I often struggle too, I think, with comfort. So I really like to be comfortable. And sometimes I'll wear something that I think is comfortable, but also stylish. And my kids will be like, Mom, you look like an old lady. Like, why are you wearing those shoes? You know? So it's like this disconnect of like, and I'm not talking about when you fly on a plane or something, but just like in general of wanting to be comfortable. I walk a lot, so I need comfortable shoes, but then also still wanting to look good. And so is that something that you work with your clients on?
Yeah, that's so important. So first of all, I live in New York City. Walking is enormous. I walk all the time. So having comfortable shoes is a given, but all my shoes are very cool and they're very stylish. So I think that sometimes women just need to be have more inspiration and be exposed to new ideas depending on where you live. Maybe listen, New York City, downtown Manhattan, I get to see so many cool looking women all the time, which I love. Not everybody has that, right? So you have to stay open to inspiration and new ideas, but it is very possible to have comfortable shoes that you can walk for miles in that are also stylish.
Yeah, I talk about 2 hour shoes. So really high heels for me are 2 hour
Yeah,
shoes.
and I love
They're
that.
for an event, you know, and then the sneaker with the dress thing. So I never did that. And now I'm doing it because I was like, everybody's doing it. So I'm just going to do it, you know, because
Yeah.
I'm walking everywhere. So why not, you
I
know?
think that a really good principle to think about when you want to make your outfits more interesting is to think about mixing opposites. So it's like dynamic opposition. So super casual with something more elegant. It looks beautiful together. So whether it's a dress with sneakers or a suit with sneakers, right? Or you could put in your denim jacket over your elegant dress, right? So thinking about mixing opposites will make your outfit more interesting.
Yeah, and I do love a denim jacket. I'm not going to lie. That's my jam. Again, my kids don't love that. So I know part of what you do when you're online with your clients is you go through their closet, right? I mean, you have them show you what's in your closet, which I think is amazing. I've always been a big cleaner outer. I'm a fan of donating clothes, consigning them, giving them away. Is there a rule of thumb, for example, I haven't worn it in a year? Or every time I put it on, I look in the mirror and go, no. How do you get your clients to look at their closets and really think about this stuff?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, I do these group closet cleanouts where the guided closet cleanout where I actually lead women to go through this process because what I find is sure we can do it on our own and some people are very good at it, but many of us we just don't quite put in the effort or we find ourselves needing to do it again. So having structure and support definitely can help. As far as the timing for the rule of thumb, I think 1 year is a little short. I would go more to 3 to 5 years. If you haven't worn it for 3 to 5 years and you put it on and it still doesn't feel good, clear it out, let it go, make space for something better. It's amazing how many women will try something on, they'll look at themselves in the mirror and they'll be like, ooh, I don't like this. And then they put it back in their closet and
It's
then
like,
they do
what
the
were you
same thing.
thinking? Yeah. I kind of do the one in, one out, you know? So if I'm going to buy something, I kind of want to get rid of something. And very rarely do I go, oh, I wish I hadn't gotten rid of that black shirt. I have 10 of them. So I don't really need 10, you know? There's like two that I wear. So how much do you think we wear of what we have?
Well, I ask this question all the time, and I find that most women wear less than 20% of what's in
Wow.
their closet. I think that that's the facts. I mean, I live in an apartment, right? So my closet is space is a premium where I live. So I'm very good about letting stuff go, because if it doesn't look good, it doesn't feel good anymore. It's really just dragging my energy down. And this is what I say to women, is that even if you're not wearing it, every time you engage with it by looking at it, by passing over it, you are giving it your consideration, right? You are giving it your energy. This is depleting when you are continuing to do this on the regular. So it's just way more freeing, and it's liberating to actually let it go, because then you make the space for something way better, for something that's aligned with who you are now.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think you're talking about our bodies change, right? The seasons of our lives are changing. We're maybe changing jobs, things like that. And I continually look at my TV wardrobe and cut it down, because I say, you know what? I do have TV appearances still, and I do speeches, but I'm only going to keep the best of the best. Like, there's no reason for me to have. I don't need outfits for a whole month. I just need like 10 outfits, you know. So what's the hardest thing that people have to deal with? Is it how they see themselves, or is it getting rid of things?
Both of those are so difficult. And so getting rid of things is definitely very hard. I think that changing how they see themselves, this is something that is so gradual and so powerful for women. They don't quite realize that it's happening, but when they change their clothes and they stop hiding, because a lot of women are using their clothes to hide, whether it's wearing oversized, whether it's wearing all dark colors and black. Once they change their clothes and they start to see themselves differently, this is very gradual, but the impact that this has on who they become in their lives, this is the reason that I do my work. So the letting go of the clothes is like step one, right? Once you can start
Sure.
letting it go, then you're starting to change your clothes, right? Because you don't have those old clothes anymore. You've gotten rid of them. So you've created space for something better, which I believe often could be other pieces that you have in your closet. See, a lot of women, once they clear out their clothes, they panic because they feel like they have nothing to wear, and they run out to go shop. But that's a mistake. I believe that you should start with a closet shop first. Get very clear about what you have in your wardrobe. Start to wear your pieces in new ways, right? So you want to bring new life into what you have. This will turn on your creativity. This will help you tap into your vitality, and you will start to see your wardrobe and yourself completely different. Then, once you have been in your closet shop for a while, you can get very clear about what's missing. What
What you
does my
don't need,
wardrobe,
what
what
you
does
don't
my
have.
style
Yeah.
need? And then you deliberately shop.
Yeah, I mean, I think like you can take a shirt that used to be a little bit dowdy, and then you put it with like cropped pants and chunky shoes and cool earrings, and you're like, oh, this is a totally different look, right? And I'm not saying
Styling.
I'm good at that. I stumble into it every once in a while, and I'm like, oh, I just
And
did
this is
that.
this is the magic, stumbling into it. It's styling. It's styling your clothes in a new way. And this creates an energy when you get that outfit together, like, oh, I never even thought to wear this like that. And these earrings go here, and look at these pants. This is energizing.
Oh, I absolutely think so. I really do. So I mentioned that I do like consignment shopping, vintage shopping. I don't often find clothes in regular stores anymore that appeal to me, especially if I feel like they're young. I feel like a lot of the clothes are really young, and I feel like they're not necessarily well made. And then they also just have so many of the same type of thing. I feel like I'm just looking at baby doll dresses like everywhere I go, or like I call them Little House on the Prairie dresses, which maybe somebody else's style, but it's just not, it doesn't work for me. So, where do you suggest your clients shop? Should they shop online? Should they shop in boutiques? Where should they shop?
Yeah, so my clients, as I mentioned, I work virtually with my clients. So everybody has different preferences about what they want to do. So, for example, I have a client who is in Indianapolis, and she likes to shop in person. So I will look and see what are the stores that are near her, and I'll go through those stores with her and give her ideas about what she should buy. Other clients, they don't mind shopping online. They actually love the convenience, right? Just having it sent to their house. So it really is customized to the woman, to her lifestyle, to her body, to her preferences. So really dialing in on what your brands are is just, I think every woman really needs to know what her brands are. And the way that you get here is by trial and compare, see what works, see what doesn't, and use it all as data to keep moving forward.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, in TV, I had this one Calvin Klein dress, long sleeve, sleeveless, that worked for me. I knew my size. I could order it online. I knew what colors I already had. So that makes a lot of sense. I also have a shoe company that I like because they're comfortable, but they're also cute. So I tend to gravitate towards that. So I mean, those are really good pieces of advice. What about for example, I did an event recently and I wore these faux leather pants and they were so fun. And I had gotten them from my daughter and she had bought them online. And of all the posts I made last month, that post got so much engagement because people said, I want to know where you got your pants. So, what about when you see somebody that is wearing something you like? I mean, should you say, hey, I really like your shoes. Where did you get them? I really like your blazer. Where did you get it?
Okay. So I have a lot of thoughts about this, like all of the influencer culture and women just throwing links out for everybody. So, number one, when I see someone in New York City who has something on amazing, I always go up to them. Where did you get this? Because I want to expand my brand knowledge. I want to know where cool things are being found, right? So I always ask just to increase my own knowledge. Um, you see something on someone else, sure, you can try that. I feel that that's, hit or miss. It's hit or miss, right? It's not that person isn't you, so they're not shopping with your lifestyle, with your body in mind. um, and it just also gets into the overconsumption thing, people just
Sure.
continuing to keep shop and buying stuff. So I just really believe in dialing in on your own unique style and building your cohesive and versatile wardrobe with less clothes, but the right clothes. This is how you will get better outfits that feel more aligned with who you are.
I love that. Less clothes, but better clothes. I mean,
Better
I
outfits.
would love to be in a situation, yeah, better outfits. I would love to be in a situation where everything I pull out of my closet I like.
Exactly.
And if I don't like it, it probably just needs to go, you know?
Exactly. That's exactly right. This is
And
energizing.
yeah, and that's what consignment is so great with because basically somebody else decided, well, this wasn't right for me anymore. But then
Mhm.
you might go in and go, oh my gosh, this is so right for me. And you're getting a discount. Obviously, you're not contributing to the overconsumption because it's been worn before. So many different options there. How do you suggest a woman should begin in this process to up her style game? Obviously, talking to you would be a good way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like if she just says to after listening to this podcast, gosh, I have just got to start somewhere. I got to clean out my closet and I got to start somewhere. I mean, do you do piles of keep, give away, maybe, or try on?
Yeah, yeah. I think the first thing that women need to do when they're in that situation is they really need to re engage and reconnect to their wardrobe. So I actually believe start wearing more of what you have, start clearing out the pieces that no longer work for you, and then get really crystal clear about what it is that your wardrobe is missing. I also have a quiz on my site. It's called Find Your It Factor. This is a beautiful place to when you want to re engage with your style. This quiz is a beautiful way to do that because you're going to look at some pictures, you're going to answer some questions, you're going to reconnect to your preferences and how you want to look. And it's going to give you some fun ideas for what you could begin with to reconnect with your style.
Oh, I'm definitely going to do that. I think that sounds awesome. I had a joke with a guy that I used to work with. We used to call it, is this the last day for this outfit? And I would wear something to work. And this is many years ago. And I'd be like, is this the last day? And he'd say, no, I think you could elevate that a little, maybe a different shirt or different shoes. Or some days he'd be like, absolutely, I don't even think you should wear it until the end of the day. I think you should go home and change right now. And it was a game, but it was really a way of saying, I haven't worn that in a while. I'm gonna try it. And if I go through this day and just still don't like it, I'm done with it.
And there's always another opportunity to change your clothes. That's what I say is the stakes are really not that high. So get into your wardrobe, start wearing those pieces that you haven't worn in ages, but put them together differently. Do it
Yeah.
in a way you haven't done before.
And I think also different regions of the country have different styles, right? And so New York City is obviously such a melting pot and you see everything. But when you're in other parts of the country, we were at a wedding in Charleston and we went into 20 stores. And I would say the majority of them carried very similar types of dresses, bright colors, flowery, because that's the culture.
Mhm.
And so you're not getting a lot of variety. So it's probably behooves you to really look around in a place that you're not living or you're not familiar with and see what other people are wearing.
Absolutely. I just had a client come and visit me in New York to shop, and I was telling her that, you're going to notice that the pull in the New York stores, the merchandise that we have here is going to be very different than what you have in your town, right? So the buyers are buying, the store buyers are shopping for a different customer. So it is interesting even to go into a store you're familiar with in a different city, just to notice like how different it is in that area.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well. And I do see things in New York where I go, huh, maybe I could pull that off. I don't know. Even if my kids say no, maybe I should try that, you know? And I am a person, probably because I'm a writer, who I pay a lot of attention to what people wear because I'm interested in how that reflects their personality. Anything else that we haven't covered that you wanna broach?
Yeah, well, I just want to share something that my client just shared with me just earlier today. We had gotten her, we packed a little capsule for her. She was going on a work trip, and this was a really big work trip for her. She really wanted to come across, make a strong impression, and she was feeling a little bit unsure, but we put together all of these amazing outfits. And she told me today, she thanked me so much for putting together these outfits. And she said, because I had these outfits, I knew I looked really good. I was able to focus on everything that was in front of me. I was more present for the office meetings, and people were noticing. People who never really talked to her before were coming up to her. They wanted to engage with her. So the energy that she brought just by knowing that she looked really good and she felt really comfortable and confident in her clothes, this changed everything for how she was showing up at that work conference.
Yeah, that's great. Again, going back to it being a theater, life is a theater. We're on stage, and why not just bring it right in every situation that we can. Thank you so much. This has been so much fun. I learned so much, and I know my audience will too. How can people find you and follow what you're doing?
Well, the best place is my website, ElyshaLenkin.com, ElyshaLenkin.com. So my website has the quiz. I have a blog section with lots of practical and fun style tips. And then my Instagram, Elysha_NYC. I'm doing lots of really fun videos and style tutorials over there.
And I will put all those in the links. And I did see some of your pictures on Instagram and think, she's not 50. So you're doing something right. I don't know what you're doing, but you definitely are doing something right in midlife. Well, again, thank you so much for sharing all this with us, and good luck with everything. It sounds like you're just doing a booming business. So great,
Thank
great
you so
pivot,
much.
great life pivot.